you do not understand white supremacy, what it is, and how it works, everything else that you do understand will confuse you. In all of these 9 areas of activity, economics, education, entertainment, labor, law, politics, religion, sex, and war. Anywhere on the planet, minute by minute, day by day, all of the time.
Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Tuesday, May the 14th, 2024 edition of the Counter Racist Code Show with Mr. Neely Fuller, Jr., and I am your co-host, Mr. Bobby. We thank you for listening, and especially to Miss Dominique, Miss Fang. That's what she called herself, Miss Fang. But all of our listeners that have decided to listen to the program, we are so grateful that you have taken the time out of your day to listen to the Counter Racist Code Show with Mr. Neely Fuller. Now, it does take a while to get used to what Mr. Fuller is going to be talking about, and that is because he uses explanations logically so that you can understand what he is saying. That way, you cut down on confusion, because that's the one thing that we guard against, is we do not want to be confusing. So you may ask your questions and wait for the response to the questions, and you can do that by dialing this number, which is 516-453-9921. And once you get that number, just hang on, let the call screener in and get your name so that Mr. Bobby can properly give you an introduction, and then we can move on from there. You can also just listen to the program if you want to on that line, as many people actually do listen online. We thank you for that. But you can do this. You can go to the chat room if you'd like, and not only can you listen, but you can get into some good conversations. And all you have to do is go to blogtalkradio.com, and you want to click on where it says programs. And once you click on where it says programs, then a menu will come up, and it says shows, and there's a list of shows that come up. But you want the Produced Justice show. That's where we are at. And when you get that, baby, you are right there. Don't go nowhere. That's it. That's the point. They say the point makes the difference. That's the point right there. And if you get into the conversations that are on there, and they have many conversations that come in there, but I will caution you to do this, or don't do this. Do not ask me a question in the chat room to ask Mr. Fuller, because that just can't happen. That's what the number is for, and I'll also give you my Gmail address that you can ask me a question on there, and I will read it to Mr. Fuller, and you can get the response to your question. And one thing about Mr. Fuller, he will ask you do you understand, because we want to be clear about whatever is being said in regards to racism, which is white supremacy. You got to be clear on that, so you can do that. The third way is, of course, as I just mentioned, at my Gmail, and that is the numero 7, Mr. Bobby, MRBOBBY @gmail.com. Put it on there, and but ma'am, please, sir, do not write me a novel, because we only have a 2-hour window that we can get things in. And, I mean, it's 2 hours, too. It's cut off after 2 hours. So don't make it too long so that I can read it and then give it to Mr. Fuller and have Mr. Fuller respond if you so desire to do that. Okay. So my people are getting into the chat room. Thank you. Okay. Let's see here. I think that is all. Whenever I get the word when Mr. Fuller will be on the Carl Nelson show, we should be coming up on that. They call him or contact him, and then they tell me. So whenever I get that message, I will give it to you. Another thing, the book that Mr. Fuller will be discussing, you can get by going to ProduceJustice.com. producejustice.com. That's producejustice.com. We simply call it the Code Book, but you can also call it, and it is the United Independent Compensatory Code System Concept. That's Mr. Fuller's book. You want to get that. There's no delivery issues. I understand all that is all well and good, all taken care of. And by the way, if you have any problems with any of that, all you have to do is contact this number, contact@producejustice.com. I'm going to say that again, contact@producejustice.com, and they will handle your inquiries. Some people think that I have some kind of special pull in there that I can get some things resolved. No, I can't. I was told to give you that address, so you contact them, and whatever your issue is, they will resolve that. Okay, I believe that is all that I have to do, so let me say this. Let me introduce to some and present to others Mr. Neely Fuller, Jr. And as customary, I will start off by saying, good morning, Mr. Fuller, and how are you?
Good morning. I'm still learning.
Okay, still learning. Did you hear that? He put that learning on there, yes. Okay, we have a segment that we devote to him. It's called The Thoughts and Expressions on the Mind of Mr. Neely Fuller, Jr. Mr. Fuller, today being Tuesday, May the 14th, 2024, what is on your mind this morning, sir?
Well, it's all over the place, really. But basically, the focus is what is always the focus on this program and everything that I've written and everything that's on every bookshelf, everywhere, every library, every school, every place where you have anything in the form of a book or an audio file or any kind of recordings and whatnot. And that is, I say, if you're going to pay any attention to any of it, just walking into a bookstore or walking into a library or walking into a church, it's all about learning. And learning what? Learning how to solve problems. Every church that you pass by, it's a lot of them. Every library, every building that you see going up. Look at it. You see a building going up. I mean, people are going to be in that building doing what? Most likely, if you just walk in there after the building is up, you've been seeing it going up, say, for the last 6 years, and it keeps getting taller and taller and adding rooms here and rooms there and whatnot. And whatever it is that those rooms are for, most likely, if you walk in, everything is all finished, and you say, what do they do in this building? That should be a question in your mind. Particularly if there's a place going up near you, it's going to have an impact on you one way or another. Taxes and all that. If you own something around there, that might be increased. And so whatever you see people doing, people riding a bus or a subway or driving and getting red light fever early in the morning. They got up at 3 o'clock so that they can be on the job by 9, because they got to go just that distance. But they had to get up at 3 o'clock in the morning, yawning and stretching and thinking about all the things they have to do and not wanting to think about them and what the day is going to be like. But it's all about just 2 words: problem solving. Everything that you see people rushing to get across the street before the light changes, etc. They're going somewhere. They're in a hurry. And the more you see them in a hurry, it's about solving a problem. So, we can keep that in mind. Is logically speaking, if you think about it, just think about it. We are here to solve problems. And a person might logically speak and say, how'd you come to the conclusion that that's what we're here for? Because you got a lot of them. Most likely, if you're reasonably conscious of anything, you're aware of problems. And the problems are constant. So rather than worry about the problems, say, that's what I was born for. That's what I was born for. I don't run from problems. I run to them. Because they're running toward me all the time. All I have to do is just stand here. They'll hit you. The problems will come to you. You don't have to search for them. So that tells you something right there, regardless of what Neely or anybody else says. I got problems. I got problems that got to be solved every minute of the day. Because they keep coming. Like Tom Cruise said in A Few Good Men. What's that cliche saying? The hits just keep on coming.
Mm-hmm.
And people can keep that in mind. So what you do, and what black people can do, and what a lot of people might ask me even this morning, because they have been asking me these questions intermittently, every now and then on this program. They say, I can't get people to listen to me when I talk about race. I say, then don't talk about race. It's a way to solve that problem. Just talk about problems. That's all. If you're talking to a black person, you don't have to convince them nothing about race. I don't mention it. I do not talk to people about race, except on this program, ever. Anywhere I go. Until what? Until people start talking to me. Not about race, but about problems. And all problems for black people are attached to race. All, no exceptions. So it's going to lead there anyway. I want to keep emphasizing that. You say, well, I talk to my relatives. I talk to my kinfolk. I talk to my wife, you know. And they say, oh, here you go with this racial stuff again. I heard all that. I'm going to hit on that, you know. I got other things to think about. Other things. Okay. So the codified approach is I'll talk about whatever you want to talk about. That's it. And they'll lead there on their own. If you don't believe it, try it. It's going to lead there. Because there's no place else for black people to go. Keep this in mind. So if, when you're talking to white people, you don't mention nothing about race. I don't. But it's going to lead there. And let them lead you there. Okay? Anybody that you talk to, black or white, they'll lead you there. Mm-hmm. Sometimes they'll start off saying, now, I'm not going to make a racial thing out of this. So let's just push that out the door. Because this is not about race.
Correct.
This is about economics. This is about this. This is about that. You go right where they're saying, it's going to be about economics. It's going to be about, okay, housing or what. It's going to be about health. Okay, all right. Let's talk about it. Nothing but health. Okay. But somewhere along that line, you're going to run into that brick wall called racism. All right? But let them lead you there.
Mm-hmm.
That's the codified approach.
That's codified approach. Okay.
So if all you have to do is just keep asking questions and getting answers, you'll get there.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can start getting answers to how you solve problems.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Just keep that in mind.
Keep it in mind. Yes, sir. Okay. Those are the thoughts and expressions on the mind of Mr. Neely Fuller, Jr. Good morning. Okay, here's the number, 516-453-9921 to get into the program. A little tidbit of information. Many of you already know this, particularly what I'm going to say concerning the Gap Band, which really got the rising out of the Greenwood area of Tulsa, Oklahoma, under the streets of Greenwood and Archer, and I guess Pine was involved in it. But the information was that we heard about the 1921 Tulsa race riots, but did you know, of course it's been hidden and now it's being discovered, but in 1925, after the race riots in the Greenwood section of Tulsa, Oklahoma, that it was a lot of it was rebuilt. A lot of it was rebuilt, and I didn't know that. I found that information out earlier this week and went into it. But now a lot of people don't want to talk about it, and a lot of people want to keep it quiet. But just thought maybe you may want to know that about the Gap Band. All righty, let's go to the phone lines. Here's the number again, 516-453-9921. Let's go into Western New York. You know who that is. That's Brother Ryan. Ryan, let me get this over here, and let's get to you, Western New York, Buffalo. Let's see here. Ryan. Okay, Ryan, you're on with Mr. Fuller. Good morning.
Hello, good morning, Mr. Bobby in the chat room, Freedom Culture Tip. Really quick,
yes, sir.
Just a BDQ. Mr. Fuller has produced 90-plus years on the planet and doesn't need any help rambling. Please have a question ready. Thank you, Mr. Bobby.
Yes, sir. Appreciate that, Ryan. Appreciate that, brother. You just don't know. I can't say it, but you did. Appreciate that. All righty. Let's go to Milwaukee. Hey, Corey, get ready. Let me hook you in here, Corey. Get up here. Let's see. Put that right there. All righty, Corey. We got you on here. Go ahead, brother.
Grand Rising, Mr. Bobby and Mr. Fuller.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Fuller, could you please express to the listening audience what a conversation, according to the counter-racist code, what a conversation act is and what it is not?
A conversation, the way to have a conversation is just questions and answers. Just directly, that's all. Questions, every question has an answer. So, in order to avoid having an argument, rather than what you should have, conversations, is just stay in the question and answer lane. Question, answer. Don't get into personalities and all like this. And this is where it degenerates into an argument. You're trying to find the question, or rather you have, most likely have questions. The universe is set up that way. The mind of a person in the universe is set up that way. You come here with questions, and you get answers to the questions. And just keep that formula. That formula is built into the universe. And that makes for a conversation. Conversations are designed to solve problems. And the way to solve problems is through the process of questions and answers. An argument is designed to win arguments. not necessarily to solve a problem. Arguments, but that's a distinct difference according to codified logic, compensatory logic. And that is, you always know when you're having an argument that all that's going to lead to is just more argument. And then the argument might do what? Escalate into hostility. And hostility escalates into sometimes fights. And then the fight will escalate into killing. Now, black people can avoid having all this happen, this roundabout way of getting to finally what we do a lot of is killing each other, including when we started out saying that we're trying to solve a problem, and that's how we solve it. That can be avoided. A lot of people in so-called civil rights organizations wind up. They start out shaking hands and hugging and all this type of stuff, and 10 days later, I'm quitting the organization. I'm doing this, I'm doing that. I mean, a lot of hostility going back and forth. And so if you just study everything that happened, you know, the death of Malcolm X, the death of a lot of people, where black people start out saying they're trying to solve a problem with racism and other disparities that's going on in their existence, they wind up turning on each other. And how does that happen? That's not magic. That happens because people don't know how to have conversations rather than arguments.
Yes, sir.
And we're just trying to win an argument. And
I hear some background noise here, Mr. Fuller. I don't know where that's coming from, because I'm only tapped into you. I don't understand this.
That's the usual suspect.
Yeah.
See, the code even takes care of that.
Okay. I don't know who that is. Maybe this
it's not on this end, to my knowledge.
It's not on this end either, so I don't know what's happening here. Yeah, you're right, Mr. Fuller. It's the usual suspects. Okay, Corey, I hope that Mr. Fuller answered your question as we try to work through this issue. Like you said, this usual suspects are always jacking around with this program.
Yes, sir. I appreciate it, Mr. Bobby, Mr. Fuller.
Okay, thank you, Corey. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All righty. We apologize, people. You know, to me, that means Mr. Fuller's message is getting out, and people they don't want it to get out, but that's all right. It's gonna get out anyway. We keep on going. Okay, let's go down to Houston. That's right, Houston, Texas. And Cleo is in the house. Cleo, long live Cleo. My brother Cleo. Here we go, Cleo. Let me see if I can get you in here. Okay, wait a minute. Cleo? Okay, Cleo? Very interesting. Okay, try it again. Okay, Cleo, got you on here. There you go.
Good morning, everyone. Long live NFJ and forever live Logic. Mr. Bobby, so thankful to you, sir. Thank you for your hard work week after week, planning this show with the entire CRCS crew. We appreciate you all's partnership with Mr. NFJ in this very important life work. Mr. Bobby, just a quick BGQ. I want to offer the prayer of the universal prayer of liberation by Dr. Francis Cress Welsing this morning, if that's okay with you, sir.
Yeah, go ahead, sir.
Thou who art blacker than a trillion midnight, thou whose eyes burn brighter than a billion suns, thou whose hair doth call tighter than a million springs, radiating all energies throughout the universe, we beseech thee, one and only one, to grant us total strength to carry out thy will for the universe, to establish justice on planet Earth, and live in peace. Thank you, Mr. Bobby. Everyone have a great day.
All righty. Thank you, Cleo from Houston. Appreciate it. Mr. Fuller, I was asked this question, and I'd like for you to respond to it. The question was, because we do have new listeners all the time, and sometimes we forget that some people are new. But the term VGQ has come up in a conversation. So could you explain, particularly for the new people that are listening, what is VGQ?
Victims Guaranteed Qualification. That's a codified term.
Mm-hmm.
What does it mean? It means if you are a victim or perceive yourself as a victim of the system of white supremacy, you are guaranteed the qualification. You are qualified to say anything that you choose to say about race, racism, and or white supremacy, and what you think should be done about it. You're qualified for that. You're qualified automatically. Why? Because you're a victim of it. If you can't say what you choose to say about being a victim of it, and what your opinion is about how it can be solved, then you're not really qualified for much of anything. If if you're in a prison, which you are, according to evidence and according to compensatory logic, if you're a person of color on the planet Earth in the year 2024, you are subject to the system of white supremacy. So victims guaranteed qualification means automatically, logically speaking, if you believe in justice, that as a victim, you're guaranteed qualifications. You don't ask anybody to go somewhere and get qualified. You're qualified because you're a victim of a crime. And the crime is being subject to the system of racism. If you have color in your skin, you're automatically a victim. So if you can't say what you choose to say about being a victim or about anything associated with race, racism, then what are you qualified for? That's logic. That's pure logic. So I gave it that term, victims guaranteed qualification. So that way, okay, now what does this do? This helps solve the problem of one black person standing up in a meeting like many of us do. We do it all the time. I don't agree with what he says. No. What does the code say that you say? For example, if someone calls in on this program and someone else says, I don't agree with what he said, I mean, the codified position is so that you lock that in so that you don't lead into an argument about it. He said what he said, or she said what she said. And that's what you have to say about anything that another person says on account of that person is qualified to say anything that they want to say. I'm a victim. That's what I call myself. Some people say that I shouldn't even do that. I'm qualified to do that. I am qualified. I'm guaranteed that qualification. Where did you get that guarantee for? Got it from me.
Yeah.
And you say the same thing. Well, well, what are your qualifications? I mean, to make that remark about racism. I'm guaranteed that qualification by being a victim of it.
Absolutely.
Sir and ma'am. And always, that's a question. See, all problems are solved through the process of questions and answers.
Questions and answers, yes.
And that's what the code is for.
Okay.
The code is called United Independent, meaning we can be united, but we're going to be united in an orchestrated way.
Yes.
So that we don't do what? Make mistakes.
Make mistakes, exactly.
All right.
Okay. All righty. Well, thank you for the
solving
example.
Problems, with minimizing mistakes. Now,
yes.
The process of solving problems, you will make mistakes, but we
Okay.
try to avoid them, and that's one way to do it. That person is qualified to say what they said.
All right.
Because if the person is a victim of white supremacy, you're guaranteed the qualification to say anything you want to say about racism, about white supremacy.
All righty. All right, so that's the definition now, particularly for those who are new to the program, of VGQ. Now you know.
That's also it's also explained in the textbook.
Yes.
The word guide.
And you can get that book by going to ProduceJustice.com.
ProduceJustice.com.
All right, let's take a quick break, and we'll be back in a minute. Okay, you are listening to the Counter-Racist Code Show, also called the CRCS, and we appreciate you listening to the program. Now, we would love for you to be a part of the CRCS, so all you have to do is call this number, which is 516-453-9921. You do that, and you're able to get in contact with Mr. Fuller. You can ask your questions. And if you are a first-time caller, please, ma'am, please, sir, do this. Make sure you tell the call screener that you are a first-time caller, and we have a special priority status for you so that you will be heard. The regulars know all about that. So you don't have to be scared. Just be brief. Just ask your question and wait for Mr. Fuller to fully answer your question. Keep in mind that Mr. Fuller will use many examples, as he just did on the previous dissertation, to illustrate a point that he's trying to make. Why? Because we do not, especially with this subject, we want to be clear. We don't want confusion. Don't want that. So yeah, you do that. You can also join the chat room by going to blogtalkradio.com, and then you want to click on where it says programs. You get the program menu up, and then you click on that bad boy, and then the shows come up. And the show that you want, because there are many shows, is the Produce Justice Show. You click on that, and a little box becomes available for you to click that, and then you're in the chat room. Now, in the chat room, good conversations going there, but if you want to ask a question to Mr. Fuller, do not use the chat room. That is what the number is for, and the Gmail, which I'm going to give you momentarily here. That's how you do that. But the chat room is just for chats, and occasionally I will select something from the chat room and formulate my own question to ask Mr. Fuller, and if it's something that you said, I will give you that credit. Yeah, because I don't want to take it on myself. We got to do our own work. Okay, all righty. And lastly, the Gmail. All you have to do to Gmail me is the numeral 7, Mr. Bobby, MRBOBBY, @gmail.com. You can ask your questions, ma'am or sir. Please be brief, because we don't have a lot of time to read a novel on there. But be brief. Ask Mr. Fuller your question, and he will answer your question. Keep in mind that all problems are solved through process of questions and answers, so you will hear that all throughout the show. Okay. I believe that is it. Don't forget, somebody in the 440 prefix, don't forget to give the call screener your name. Let me get a Gmail out of the way, and then I'll go into the Yo and talk to Brother Talif. All right, but let me do this there. Let's see. This is from William, Mr. Fuller, and he says, Mr. Fuller, good morning. Mr. Fuller, do you have any recollections or thoughts regarding the Jonestown Massacre in 1978, in which approximately, mostly non-white black men, women, and children, 300, who were United States citizens, were murdered and or committed suicide in Guyana, South America, under the leadership and direction of suspected racist Reverend Jim Jones?
Yes, that's an example of what can happen when you're under the system of white supremacy. Black people can be led any kind of way. That's why we need a code where we can lead ourselves as individuals. It always starts with an individual. In fact, if I remember correctly, there were 2 black people who were in Jonestown, Guyana. That's what they called it. Mm-hmm. On that day, when over 900 people, I believe, committed suicide, okay, under the leadership of a person who said he was helping them, all right? And it was an incident while everybody was being lined up, children, babies in their arms, whatnot, and I understand Mr. Jim Jones said, bring the children first, okay? And they fed the children the poison Kool-Aid, cyanide, I believe it was, and that was a strategic move because evidently somebody thought of it. They didn't say whom, but it came from Mr. Jim Jones, Reverend Jim Jones himself, said, bring the children first. Why? Because that was logical, using logic. If you kill your children first, poison your own children, pour that Kool-Aid down their throats, and watch them gag and die, then you'd be ready to die yourself. Mm. See, Jim Jones understood that. That's what you call using logic. Mm-hmm. All right? The people, they've been trained that when they come here to Jonestown to stop us from doing what we're doing, in our own view of the religion of Christianity, we are not going with them. We are not going to do what they say for us to do. We'll die first. So he had already prepared for them. He called it the White Knights. Okay? He said on that day, we might have to execute. He had a code for it, the White Knight. From what I read.
Yes, sir.
And so that's what happened. Now, there were 2 black people who were lined up, with their cups in their hands, and ready to kill themselves. 2 black males. And somebody said, we're running out of cups. Okay? So one of the people assigned them, well, you know where the cups are. Go get them. Go get some more cups. So they went off into the forest to get the cups. They knew where they were. And when they got away from the crowd, one of them looked at the other one and said, man, this is crazy. This street dude instinct kicked in. See, but they had to get away from the group. They'd been brainwashed. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Once they got off to themselves, they had a hard time finding the cups. they were moving through stuff and trying to move as fast as they can, and because they got to get the cups back there, and they were having to move stuff, or they got everything stacked up in front of them. I mean, so we got to get this stuff, so they start moving it, just two of them. And then at some point, they just got tired, all right? But they looked at each other, and one of them said to the other, "Man, this is crazy." And then they said, "Let's get out of here." And they took off and went to Jonestown, took off through the jungle, walking through the forest, I call it. And so they were saved. By what? Their common sense instinct, rather than listening to Jim Jones like they had been every night and day since they had been in Jonestown. Because he would talk in the middle of the night, wake everybody up.
Yeah.
And say, "I have a speech to make." And it's 12 o'clock. And they got to get up in the morning and do that farm work, because that's what they were doing. They say, "We got to have our own food. We got to, we got to be separate from all this chaos that they have up there in San Francisco and places like that." Say, we get away from them and come down here in South America. So that's what I remember about it.
Okay.
See, and it goes to show you how people can be led. So much so that it's taken me forever to get people to use the term white supremacy.
Yes.
Because most people, didn't like to use that term. But one thing you find out by using it is how effective it is. The white supremacists don't want to hear nothing about it. Okay? But finally, a few of them are throwing in the towel because and when they do that, you better believe they got another plan. All right?
Yeah.
They're going to try to steer that term in another direction.
Yes, sure are. Okay, that was from the Gmail there. All righty. Let's see here before I get to leave. Someone had asked a question about wanting to call in to the show. Oh, yeah, Less Confused. Yeah, I think Sestas help you out here, but when you call in that number, which is 516-453-9921, if you do have a question, just press the number 1 button and wait for the call screener to come on, and then you're able to get on. I think Sestas spelled that out for you, but that's how you get in. Okay, here we go. Our weekly trip to Youngstown, Ohio. For those who are not from Ohio, it's the yo. Listen, don't mess around in that town. I'm telling you right now, don't do that. All right, Talif, my brother. Go ahead this morning.
Top of the morning, Mr. Bobby, Mr. Fuller. Hope things are well. Everybody else is listening.
Yes, sir.
Don't forget, Mr. Fuller, and that A Few Good Men is something that people have been using, the Jack Nicholson character. What did he say? You can't handle the truth. Remember that, Mr. Bobby?
I remember very well.
Yeah. Well, Mr. Fuller, I got one thing, but I am going to ask you a question at the end because I'm a keen listener and I remember stuff well. But one thing, I've been listening. I always listen to people, and these panel of people were having some opposing views. And I've been hearing it a lot lately, and I wonder if you've ever used it, or have you heard the phrase or cliche or whatever you want to call it, two things can be true at the same time. I've been hearing it a lot. There were a panel of people having opposing views, but I guess they kind of agreed by using that two things can be true at the same time. And one more thing I want to ask you, Mr. Fuller, you don't have to address it now. I heard you use the word common sense when you talked about Jim Jones.
Well, I remember you one time saying you don't know what uncommon sense is, so you don't know what common sense is. So maybe before you get off the show or maybe on another show, my question to you is, what is your definition of common sense? But that's not what I want to ask you, but since I heard you bring it up, and I heard you say one time before, you're not sure what uncommon sense is. But my question is to you, my original question is, can two things be true at the same time? And you can address that other one later, but that was my major question.
All right, let's give him, Mr. Fuller, a chance to answer. Can two things be true at the same time? Is that it?
Yes. I mean, depending on what context you're talking about. Two things can be, a clock can tell time. So I've been told, and what made me think of that is I'm looking at a clock right now. And so a clock can tell time, but then the clock doesn't tell time. That's something that's in your mind, what that means, telling time. And which raises another question. How do you tell time? That raises a question, and that's true. You tell time by looking at the clock. Well, does the clock really tell time? Or time has nothing to do with that clock? And so possibly that's true. What is truth? Truth is that which is. People get into the word thing. What is truth? According to what's in the textbook, the word guide, that you can get by going to producejustice.com, truth is that which is. That which is what? Is what it is. That's as far as I can go with that. Mm-hmm. That's the compensatory definition of truth. Sometimes we say, tell it like it is. That's a slang expression.
There's a song like that, too, tell it like it is.
Okay, so in answer to the question, can two things be true at the same time? Logically speaking, yes. I'm just feeling my way through it now. But that's the definition that I have in the textbook, and that is, truth is that which is. That which is what? See, that calls for another question. Mm-hmm. That which is whatever it is.
Okay.
That's as far as I can go with it.
All righty. All right. We have to accept that one then. Mm-hmm. Okay. Or somebody said, a stop clock is right at least twice a day. I don't know if that has anything to do with it, but maybe that is. Figure out the logic. Talif, my man, Youngstown, thank you. Thank you. Thank you for calling in. Appreciate it. Let's see here. Let's go to Cleveland. Yeah, it used to be called, the Dirty? I don't know what they call it now. They cleaned up. Only city in the world. I know a river had caught on fire at one time. But anyway, that's not what Brother Austin is calling in about. Austin, let me see if I can get this cursor over there. Okay, there you go. You're on with Mr. Fuller there, Austin. Go ahead, sir.
All right, thank you so much, Mr. Bobby. Good morning to you, and good morning to Mr. Fuller as well. Mr. Fuller, I have a quick question for you about disagreements. My question to you is, I know you get complimented about being a patient person. I know you said, according to the code, we shouldn't be taking things personally, like compliments, but we follow logic instead. And I'm the exact same way, too. But my question to you, Mr. Fuller, is how do you deal with non-white people, particularly black people, who have some type of problem, or they have an issue with your work, or to say it outright, they just flat out don't get it and they don't want to get it?
It sounds like you're in an echo chamber or something.
Yeah, hey, Austin, can you speak a little clearer? Because it did sound like you were echoing. We couldn't hear all of your question. So could you please repeat that so that we can hear it, so Mr. Fuller can hear it?
Okay, can you hear me better now?
Wait a minute. Mr. Fuller, can you hear him better now?
No, I really don't. It sounds like he's in an echo chamber or something.
Okay, hold on.
You can relay, Mr. Bobby, if you can.
I'm having problems hearing him too, so he's going to fix that.
Oh.
Okay, he said he was going to try to fix it. Okay. Oh, that's better. Yeah, go ahead, Austin. That's better.
Okay, sorry about that. My Bluetooth is acting up on me, but yeah, Mr. Fuller, I had a question for you about disagreements. I know that you get compliments about being a patient person all of the time, and I know you say not to take things.
Wait a minute, slow down right there.
Yes, sir.
You have to slow down because I'm still hearing that echo.
Okay. I'll say it word for word. How do you deal with non-white people?
How do I deal with non-white people?
Yes. Or black people.
Or black people.
Mm-hmm. Yes, who have
Go
a
ahead,
disagreement
continue.
Yes. Who have a disagreement with your work.
Who have a disagreement with my work?
Yes, that's right.
Oh, that's the way it's supposed to work. That's why it's called a United Independent System. They can disagree. They're supposed to. Anybody, white people, anybody. You either agree or disagree. I mean, it's not dictatorship. I'm not, my books are not about dictating anything. It's, you just say that, well, if you go strictly according to the code, well, Neely Fuller said what he said. Now, you make up your own mind about what you're going to do with what he said. That's all. Because that's what I say about other people's work. That's why I'm saying you minimize conflict by doing that with white people or with non-white people. You just minimize conflict. That's what that's for. VGQ. And what you actually officially do, that's how you react to it. You say he said what he said. That's what I say. People have asked me all the time about something that some black person said about anything. I said, well, he said what he said. He's entitled to say anything that he wants to say about the issue. Not about the people, but about the issue. Whatever the problem is. Everybody's entitled. That's the compensatory way. What does this do when you do it that way? It minimizes conflict.
Minimizes, yes.
Yeah. In fact, it just about eliminates it, because that's going to be my automatic response. Well, he said what he said. Well, what do you think about what he said? I think that he said what he said. That's what I think about it. Now, if you want further details, ask him. Whomever. That's how the code responds to all issues like that. Whether it's a white person, a black person, male, female, they can say, that's them saying that.
Okay.
Well, do you agree with it? That's not my position.
Exactly.
See, the question is, do you agree with it? You don't ask me, do I agree with it? He said what he said. Deal with it your way. Okay? And I'm dealing with it the codified way, because I'm not looking for further conflict.
Exactly.
The person said what they said. I said what I said. About what? About whatever the problem is.
Whatever the problem is. Okay. All right. Austin in Cleveland. All right, man. Appreciate you giving us a call, and don't be a stranger, my man. Okay, new caller alert. we're going to go to Columbus, Ohio, and Miss Love on the screen here. That perfect name, Miss Love. Miss Love, good morning, and what is your question for Mr. Fuller?
Well, actually, first of all, I want to say good morning to Mr. Fuller and to you, Mr. Bobby.
Thank you.
I can use that.
I don't have a question. I have a VGQ.
Yes.
If I may, please.
Yes.
This is in conjunction with the gentleman who spoke about rambling earlier, people rambling with their questions. To avoid rambling, people might want to write down their questions before contacting the show. I'm just saying, Mr. Bobby.
Okay. All righty. Is that it?
That's it.
Okay. Let me say this. Mr. Fuller has addressed that before on many shows, particularly when we were on the Talktainment radio platform, and he suggested, as a suggestion, that people maybe write out their questions and rehearse it. So you are right on it. And since you are a new caller, you didn't know that. But, yeah. But we thank you for your VGQ. We thank you very much. Hey, and like I tell all the new callers, don't be a stranger. Thank you.
Thank you.
All righty. All righty. New caller there. Okay. Let's see here. Let me see. Yeah, got in there. Okay. Tell you what. Yeah, Ryan. Yeah, we'll get this before the hour. Okay, Ryan. So nice. We got to get you twice. Ryan Buffalo, Western New York. See if I can get you in here, brother. See Ryan. Come on. Wait a minute, Ryan. Wait a minute. But there you go. Okay, Ryan, you're on with Mr. Fuller. What is your question, please?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Bobby. Shout out to Miss Love. Mr. Fuller, as a identifying victim of racist white race supremacy, what does the code say about dealing with anger?
Anger?
Yes, sir.
Questions and answers. That's all. Whenever people get angry out of frustration. And frustration comes from what? Not knowing what to do. And that leads to anger. Not knowing the most constructive thing to do. Is when anybody gets angry, that's what they're saying. Whether they're aware of it or not. You have a problem. You don't know what to do about the problem. And you get what? Frustration when you don't know. And frustration brings about anger.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what you do. Questions and answers. How do you solve a problem? You solve problems through questions and answers. So if you don't know what to do, you do what? You ask somebody who, what? Knows what to do. That's why we need a code. And a code is nothing but a procedure for getting things done. So when you find yourself angry, it means I've run into a problem that I can't handle. And it's making me mad. All right? I'm frustrated, and then I get angry. And when I get angry, terrible things might happen that shouldn't happen. So you want to avoid that. How do you avoid anger? By questions and answers. Of course, all it means is you don't know what to do.
Yeah. Okay. All righty. Well, I know what to do right here. We have come to the end of the first hour. Thank you, Ryan. So I've got to close this first hour out. But we do thank you for calling in, for listening. We thank you for the Gmails. Well, we got a good one, Gmail coming up. But for those of you who will have to depart, we hope that you have a good week. Thanks for listening. Thanks for listening. Don't forget to call back next week. But for those who are going to be with us, stick and stay. Don't go away. We'll be back in about 7 seconds. All righty, welcome back to the second hour of the Counter Racist Code Show with Mr. Neely Fuller Jr. I am your co-host, Mr. Bobby, and we thank you individually and collectively for listening to today's program. Now, we would like for you to get in contact with the show, and you can do so by calling this number. Please, ma'am, please, sir, call this number, 516-453-9921. And when you get that, when you get that dial tone, when the call screener does answer, make sure that you give the call screener your name so that Mr. Bobby can give you a proper introduction, as we have some phone lines open. Yeah, how about that? We do. So do that. If you are a first-time caller, as we just had, I believe, Miss Love called in. She was a first-time caller. We have something special set up for the first-time callers. You get a priority status, which means that you will be heard, and we love it to ask your question. Don't be afraid, and as Miss Love has said just recently, and Mr. Fuller has said on previous shows, if you need to write your question down, even rehearse it, go ahead. It's okay. Just do it so that you can be clear on what you're stating to Mr. Fuller. Some people get nervous when they actually are on the air because you are talking to the whole world now, and it can be a little a daunting task. But anyway, you don't have to be afraid. We're all friendly here. We want you to ask your questions because, as Mr. Fuller has stated, all problems, and you will hear him say this, all problems are solved through the method of questions and answers. And if you think about it logically, that is true. So don't be afraid. Again, the number, 516-453-9921, and make sure you press the number 1 button. You can also join the chat room, as a few have. All you have to do on that is go to blogtalkradio.com. You want to click on where it says programs. And once you click that on, then when the menu comes up, it'll have a list of shows. And you want the Produce Justice Show. That is where you click on that, and then a little icon for the chat room becomes available to you. You click on that, and you are in there, okay? You do that. And I have to caution you again, because some of people are new. Please, ma'am, please, sir, do not ask me a question to ask Mr. Fuller from the chat. I will formulate my own question from that, maybe on something you said. We'll give you credit for it because you said it. Got to stand by your own work, and then ask Mr. Fuller that question. But you can call the number, the 516 number, or you can Gmail me, and I will ask your question. The book you can get from Mr. Fuller can be obtained by going to producejustice.com. That is producejustice.com, and you can get that book there. Okay. All right, let's go to the Gmails here. This is a revisit to a Gmail, Mr. Fuller, but let's do this. The question is, Mr. Fuller, is it best as a victim of white supremacy to understand the language used and behavior practiced by the white supremacists?
Yes, the more you know, the better you can solve problems.
Mm-hmm.
And that's in anything. And how do you learn things that you don't know? Or what do you do, rather, when you don't know things that you need to know or think you need to know? Questions and answers.
Yes.
That's what you do in a college. That's what you do in a courtroom. That's what you do when you're fixing your car. I mean, one of the first things that the mechanic will say to him or herself, what's wrong with the car? You know? And then you get an answer, well, it won't start. Now, the answer didn't have anything to do with changing the tire. Because you got an answer saying the car won't start. There's no relationship between the changing in the tire and the car not stopping or not starting. See, so right away you rule out what isn't the issue, the problem. See, all problems are solved through the process of questions and answers. And just remember that universal law. And there is an answer to every question. Otherwise, the question could not exist. That's the way the universe is set up. It's just a matter of finding out what the answer to the specific question is. That's all. Questions and answers. All day, every day. That's why you should be in touch with people. You should seek out people who have answers to questions.
Yes.
The answers. I mean, don't seek out people who don't have the answers to the questions that you need answers for. I mean, don't hang around that type of environment. Some people don't want to listen to anything, don't want to learn anything.
Exactly.
They say, I know enough about everything, and that's it. They are not answer seekers.
Yes.
And these are people that wind up, like we talked about in the first hour, lining up with their babies in their arms listening to Jim Jones. Because you are not a person that wants to be logical. You just want somebody else to do all the thinking, and you just do whatever. And you wind up in that type of situation. And it's easy to do, because most people don't want to do the heavy lifting when it comes to thinking.
Yeah, that is true.
Most people don't want to think. They want somebody else to do all the thinking for them, and we just act and enjoy.
Yeah.
All right.
And then question that.
Yes, you are a candidate to be in line for somebody like Mr. Jim Jones.
Yes.
All right. Because he's doing the thinking. You don't want to think. Just all that thinking. You know, it hurts my head. We have been brainwashed.
Yes.
We have been brainwashed. The white supremacists have done that to us.
Oh, yes, they have. Yes,
and the evidence is right there. 1978, I think. I mean, that's some evidence. We see the evidence all around us.
All around us every day, even now.
Teenagers out here, I mean, gunning each other down and whatnot. They're not doing no thinking.
Or killing themselves, as a friend of mine's grandson
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
That's what I mean. The suicide rate is going up. Why? Not thinking. Don't want to think. The more you get like that, that is a form of suicide.
That is a form.
Yeah, I mean, use that brain that you have. That's an excellent instrument. That is the motivation. Everything in that thing called a brain is going to determine what the body does.
Yes, sir.
That's a key part of the body. You've probably heard people use the expression, running around like a chicken with no head.
Yeah, that's not good. Okay. The second part of that question is this. Since you answered that, now she says, is that the best way, Mr. Fuller, to end racism, or is this the best way to defend against racism?
Sure, it's the best way to do anything. Use your brain and be around people who are using their brains. This is how the best thing gets done. This is how things are invented. This is how a better recipe in a kitchen is made that will make you healthy rather than unhealthy. And we can use a lot of that.
Mm-hmm.
Just look around you in the last, I'll say, particularly, well, really, going back as far as I can remember, a lot of black people, on account of what we eat, are very unhealthy. Yeah, but it tastes good. The white supremacists are experts at producing poisonous stuff that we eat tons of.
Mm-hmm.
And it's nothing but pure poison.
Pure poison, yes, sir.
All chemicals. Not real, what you call real food.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Okay? But more and more black people are becoming aware of this. I mean, the high rates of obesity, that thing of what? Diabetes, that is called, colon cancer. Well, if truth is being told, black people have high rates of what's supposed to be foodborne illnesses. It's all in what you're eating and drinking. All of those different type of drinks that they got in the front of the store. Every last one of them can be avoided. Drink some almond milk or some water. Now, I know we're not used to that because we've been propagandized about sugar so much that sugar, we got to bury everything in as much sugar as we can pile on and much salt. And it causes all kinds of problems.
Yes.
I used to do it. I didn't know any better. I put sugar on beans.
What?
Literally.
Oh, gosh.
A bowl of navy beans, I would pour sugar in there.
Lord have mercy. Woo!
Yes. Neely full. I used to do that. My father ran a restaurant. I put sugar on my beans. A bowl of chili, I would put sugar in it.
Oh, stop now.
I'm telling you, I wanted everything. What? I'm 11 years old. I want everything sweet. Been trained that way at that early age. Everything. I got to taste some sugar. And then to balance that out, I'd make it worse by putting salt in there too much. I just put sugar in there, and I'm going to put salt in there on beans.
Ooh.
Yeah. As crazy as I can be.
Well, you got me on that
but
one.
But I wasn't born that way.
Yes, sir.
See,
wow.
babies wasn't born that way. The only thing they knew when you were a baby is what? Your mother's milk.
Your mother's milk, yes. That's
not
correct.
even a cow's milk, really. That's something that somebody thought up.
And now they don't want you to do mother's milk.
They don't want you to have no mother's milk at all.
Right.
None. They say that's primitive. You
Yeah.
better believe it's primitive. It's prime. It's basic. That's why it's there. That's why mothers have breasts. But they want to outlaw black women's breasts and give you the white supremacists what? Phallus.
Yes, sir.
The white supremacist phallus is the new black breast.
Okay. Whew. Okay. All righty. So now we know. The person in the 716, please give the call screener your name. 516-453-9921. Back to the Gmails. Mr. Fuller, okay, this is also a revisit. So, Mr. Fuller, some non-white people, not of African descent, are still surprised in 2024 when they experience racism. They then come to us to vent and expect a reply. I don't know what to tell them. Should I direct them to your book and this show, or should I mind my own business and allow them to get their wake-up call alone?
No, they ask you a question, and you're supposed to help people. So, yes, I recommend my book and any other book that will help. And like I've said on this program, what do you think your religion is for? That you got a book, that attached to that, whatever religion you probably have. Martin Luther King did that, much to a lot of people's dissatisfaction, including, I understand, I've just heard this now, so I don't want to get into an argument about that. I heard that Martin Luther King's own father said, Martin, what are you doing? Talking about this racism thing. Keep everything in the church. And Martin Luther King says, hey, the church is for solving problems. He said that directly or indirectly. And I got to get involved in this whole racial thing. And I'm going to use the Bible. What is Christianity for if it ain't to solve whatever the problems? And the race problem is a serious problem. And that's what we're supposed to be doing, I thought. That's why you sent me to divinity school, all right? And I understand that was his line of thinking, because the evidence shows that's what he was thinking about. Martin Luther King was deeply involved in things that were racial. So in answer to that question, yes, it's all about problem solving. And the race problem is and if racism or arguments about what color somebody's skin is a problem, you find whatever will help you, or talk to people who will help you to solve that problem.
Okay.
If it is a problem. I say it's a major problem on the planet, and you're not going to solve any other problem without solving that one.
Okay. Which brings me precisely to this. I need you to speak about your book. Why did you write this book, and what is the benefit of this, and what is the name of this book?
I wrote the book literally to solve the race problem. If I don't do that with this book and with programs like this, then I'm failing. Because that's me. That's all. I think I was put here to do that, and because I couldn't run away from it.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't try to run away from a problem; you solve it. That's why you're aware of the problem. That's why you're made aware of it. People sometimes ask me, Well, what are we here for? We're here to solve problems. Well, what problem? The one that's right in front of you. The one that keeps grabbing you when you're trying to get away from it. That's how you know that's the problem you're supposed to be solving.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you keep getting tapped on your shoulder. No matter how you go and where you run to, and that's how I started writing the book. That's why I'm very comfortable doing what I'm doing. In fact, I was mostly discomfortable not doing it, and agonizing about the discomfort. I was about, 26 years old before I said, Fuller, you're running around in circles trying to avoid the race problem, which is what I was doing.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, hey, you can't outrun that. That's like your shadow at noon in the middle of the desert. And the sun is bearing down. High noon. And you're trying to outrun your shadow. Every time you look down, you see your shadow. Why? Because the sun is directly overhead. And your body is a reflection of your movements. You can run and run and run 2-3 hours in the desert. You're hot, you're thirsty, you're sweating. You look down, you're trying to outrun your shadow, and your shadow's still there. Trying to run away from your problem is futile. Because you're going to do one or two things. You're going to die trying to run, or you can turn around and deal with that problem, if that is a problem. But trying to run from the problem you're assigned to, you're going to be defeated every time. Why? Because whatever made you assign you to that problem. That's the theory.
That's the theory.
It's correct.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, pardon me, Mr. Fuller. The person in the 804, please give the call screener your name. Continue, Mr. Fuller.
Well, that's just about it. But you always start with what will help you solve the problem. And I'm saying the biggest problem is the race problem, the way I see it.
Mm-hmm. So you wrote the book as a...
And I wrote the book to solve the problem. That's what I wrote it for. If I leave this planet without solving the problem of race, Neely Fuller, that's on you. But I just did the best that I could, but that's an excuse as far as I'm concerned. That's an excuse, not a reason. Because I was put here to solve the race problem. Neely Fuller, not somebody down the block. No, I'm supposed to do it.
Okay.
Because that's the way I see it.
Yes, sir. Now, we can get this book
if I'm supposed to do something else, if I'm supposed to do something else, I want somebody to let me know what it is.
Okay. So how can they get the book, Mr. Fuller?
Going to producejustice.com.
Okay.
And I recommend that for anybody else who is black or non-white on this planet. My book is one of the, I always say, because I have to tell the truth, it's one of the best of the worst written counter-racist guides ever produced. But I did the best that I could.
You did the best you can.
With what I had at the time.
All right. ProduceJustice.com.
ProduceJustice.com.
All
and anything else that helps them solve whatever problem they got. Any type of book that will help you. Any type of person that will help you. The person, a white person, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Because a lot of white people know how to solve problems. Why?
Mm-hmm.
Because they've been taught that by other white people. All right? They didn't tell you. That's why they didn't want you to be in the same school and all like that. Say, we don't want them to know what I know. I don't want them to know what I know, because they'll be able to solve problems on their own without me, and I can't have them in that position.
All right. All righty. Let's take a phone call here before break. Let's go to Richmond, and we have Christopher. Get ready, Christopher. Let me get this thing over here and see if I can get you in without any distractions here. Okay, Christopher, you're on with Mr. Fuller. Good morning.
Hello, you two. It's nice to hear from you two. And my question is, have you done your genealogy, Neely, at all, like your family tree, and how far back have you been able to track your genealogy?
All right. Mr. Fuller?
I'll give you the codified answer when I've been asked that question. I say, when people, because I put it under history. When people ask me, Fuller, what is your history, or how much of your history do you know? All right, so it depends on the question. But when people have asked me about my history, anything about my history, the codified answer that I give, my history, Neely Fuller's history, is everything that ever happened before the beginning of time and since. And that is the truth. We talk about telling it like it is, and truth, that's the truth. Neely Fuller's history is everything that ever happened, every rock that ever turned over on the moon. That's Neely Fuller's history. Why? It happened in the same universe that I'm in. That's my history. So I don't look at, and start to talk about bloodlines and all this. Everything that ever happened before the beginning of time. Now that goes back a long ways. All right? But that is my history, and that's just the way I tell it.
Okay.
If you got another question, I always tell people, ask me another question, because I just took care of my history in one nutshell.
Okay.
I don't have to go and look through the whole bunch of books and all like that. I just be straight up with the absolute truth. My history, I can't speak for other people. My history is everything that ever happened everywhere in the universe before the beginning of time and since.
Okay, so if someone were to come up to you and ask you, were you related, or are you related to Buckmaster Fuller or the people who own the Fuller Brush Company, you've already answered that question?
I've already answered that question. Everything that ever happens before the beginning of time is my history, and I'm telling the truth. I mean, think about the beginning of time. You say, well, Fuller, you wasn't even here. Yes, I was, or I'm here now. And everything that happened in the universe is a part of me. That's why people talk about burial grounds and all like that. I just want to throw that in. Because I recently had somebody buried and whatnot. And it would seem to be a dilemma and talking about expense and all like that, and where a person was going to be buried. I say, burial grounds have no borders, all right? And that's the truth. You say, well, we got to have the body. No, the body goes wherever it goes, because there's no such thing as a burial ground that has a border.
Mm-hmm.
Once you put a person in the ground, they're in the ground. And you say, yeah, but a cemetery got a fence around it and all that. No. A cemetery has no borders. That fence is independent of anything. That's just a fence. That's not the border of the cemetery. Cemeteries, if you stop and be logical, has no borders. It's a part of the water of every ocean. A dead person is a part of everything. That's why the body deteriorates.
That's why the body deteriorates.
That body is not there.
Okay. All right.
I mean, that body had a soul. That's what we call it, a spirit and all like that.
Mm-hmm.
Does a spirit have a border?
All righty. Got to leave it there for a second, Mr. Fuller, because we have to take a break. You are listening to the Counter Racist Code Show with Mr. Neely Fuller, and the last half an hour you can get in if you'd like. Call this number, 516-453-9921. Press the number 1 button as Nicolette and Ryan have, and we're going to get to them when we come back here. But that's the number you call in. And also, if you want to join the chat room, blogtalkradio.com. Click on the program menu, and then when you click that on, you click on where it says shows, and then you click that on, and then you are in on the chat menu. Now, if you just like to send me a Gmail to have me read your question, all you have to do on that is my Gmail address. The numeral 7, Mr. Bobby, MRBOBBY, at gmail.com. I will read it, let you know all about it, and we can go on from there. I'll let you know when I do that. And we've read a few today. Let's see here. One more thing. I think that might be it. Let me get back here. Oh, yeah. Okay. Oh, yeah. And don't forget the books. Yeah. Which Mr. Fuller's been talking about, really, the whole show, can be obtained by going to producejustice.com. Producejustice.com. Okay, let's go to Nicolette, and then we'll get to Ryan. I think that's the order. Okay, Nicolette. Everybody knows that I think she's going to be a lawyer one day. Anyway, Nicolette, you are on with Mr. Fuller. What you got for us today?
Good morning, Mr. Bobby. Good morning, Mr. Fuller. I'm so glad for you, Mr. Fuller, week by week, the consistency of the codified, because that's the only way we're going to continue to produce justice eventually. And to add to the comment, Mr. Bobby, about the ancestor stuff, I just know that my grandfather, who could not read, that was a Blackfoot Indian, told me about history before it became popular to research our history. So I'm glad that Mr. Fuller broke it down like that, because how do we even can trust that when people is researching, looking for us, when we have such a slave history? So again, I'm glad that Mr. Fuller is consistent with his comments and his codified, because I'm ready for a revolution already. Like this is, and I'm out of cold today because within me is just so distraught of the things with legislation, presidents getting indicted, and people still having to vote. Chicago going through where people living in tents, but migrants is living in hotels. Like, I'm just ready for a revolution. So today, I was glad that I was able to use a platform that can exchange my energy and keep me positive and keep me fighting. And you're right. I will one day become some type of lawyer or something. And until then, I'm grateful for the code to keep me on code so that I can go in any facility or anywhere and be able to exhibit a code that is getting people questions, that is getting people to think and to work. So today, I'm just grateful for the consistency of this show. Have a great day.
All right. Thank you, Nicolette. Thank you so much. Oh, yeah. She has a desire. She's still learning. She's still learning. She's getting gooder and gooder. That's right. I said it. Gooder and gooder. All right. Let's go back to Ryan. Ryan, Buffalo again. Western New York. Go ahead, Ryan.
Yes, thank you again, Mr. Bobby. This is my third time calling. I would like to take advantage of the words of logic because they are a form of music for all my hip-hop heads. Mr. Fuller, my question is there a such thing as black people?
Is there a such thing as black people?
Yes, sir.
Yes, if we want to call it that. You can call a black person, you call a black person purple if you want to, but it depends on what you want to do or what you choose to do and what. And these are two words I want you to think about the whole time we're talking about anything, and that is constructive results.
Yes, sir.
So if you want to say that, is it yes, that there is such a thing as a black person, then you ask yourself the next logical question, does that produce a constructive result if you do that? And if it does, do it. If it doesn't, don't do it. That's anything. Words are just tools, like a hammer, a saw. That's all a word is. Depends on what you're trying to do. And if you are trying to do something, first of all, you have to know what you're trying to do. And if you're going to use a tool called black person, you can use the term black person. Why? Because that's the tool that helps you to accomplish what you are trying to do. And what you should be trying to do in anything is produce a constructive result.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's always your focus. You can't get lost. You can ask that question any time of day or night to anybody. Is this going to produce a constructive result?
Mm-hmm.
And then that might lead to 1,000 other questions.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
But all questions have answers. The question could not exist. That's the law of the universe. The fact that there is a question means that question has a truthful answer, or the question could not exist. It's just a matter of finding out what the answer is.
Okay.
So in answer to that question, yes, if it helps to produce a constructive result.
Constructive
if it
result.
doesn't,
absolutely.
Don't use it.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr.
All righty, let's go here to the Gmail. Revisit. This is a question that came up. Mr. Fuller, good morning, greetings, Mr. Fuller, Mr. Bobby. It has been reported that some melanated people have been discriminated against in the job market due to having unique names. Mr. Fuller, do you think melanated people should give their children common names to give them a chance to get their foot in the door?
Whatever produces the most constructive result. Names are just names. Neely Fuller. Some people say that's white people's names. And they asked me, years ago, people asked me, as far back as way over 50 years ago, people asked me that when a lot of people were changing their names. Like Stokely Carmichael went from Stokely Carmichael to Kwame Ture. Okay? So they asked me about my name, Neely Fuller Jr. And say, Fuller, why haven't you changed your name? You got a white man's name. I said, I'm on evidence. That's why I go back and forth in my own mind about tearing down these Confederate monuments. Why? Because I say maybe we should keep them up as evidence of crimes committed. Right, not tear them down because of what? You're erasing history. And that's what the white supremacists want done. They want to say that there wasn't no such thing as slavery. Who came up with that? Okay. And some of them are hinting at that. They're not saying it outright, but they're coming, a few of them are poking around the edges of doing just that. Trying to convince the world now, after bragging about having slaves, saying, oh, white people never had no slaves. Where'd you get that from? No. We did all our farm work ourselves. We did, black people didn't have nothing to do with that. So getting back to the name thing, I say no. This is evidence. Neely Fuller, where did his name come from? Where did I take my name from? What's the history of my name? Tell it like it is. Tell the truth. Oh, this is evidence. Evidence of what? Of a crime. Could be. So let's ask questions and get answers. Because you ask questions and get answers, you'll get what? Sooner or later, you'll get the truth. Don't disturb anything that leads to the truth about anything.
Yes.
That's my thinking.
Mm-hmm. All righty. Okay, I'm going to try this here because my screen there we go. My screen almost went kapooey. Usual suspects. Boy, they really playing today. All right, let's do it again. 804. Let's see, don't have your name on the screen, but let's give you let me see if I can get it in here. Okay, you're on with Mr. Fuller. Go ahead with your question.
Oh, this is Chris, Mr. Bobby.
Okay, Chris.
So thank you for the first question being answered, Neely. The second question I have is, you had talked to us about, from a question that I asked previously a few weeks ago, you said that your mother taught in Native American schools, and I wanted to know, could you tell us any more information about, like, the type of children she taught and what she was teaching and how she got that job, and maybe any other details that you could give us?
No, I don't have those, because people just didn't talk about those things. So I don't have that history, even though I'm staring it in the face. It's staring me in the face. What little there is, the person that I referred to as my mother, my caretaker. That's what the code calls them. Because the white supremacists, they became my mothers and fathers.
Mm-hmm.
They wouldn't allow my mother to be a mother, okay? And so she's just a fellow prisoner, you might say. But she, as a young lady, taught in what is called Indian Territory, and now what is called Stillwater, Oklahoma.
Oh, okay, yeah, I've heard of that, yes.
They even made a movie about it, I understand, recently. I don't know what the movie is about. But
okay.
Stillwater, that's the name of a town. And probably the people what we call the indigenous people, probably in their own language, gave it that name, probably, because that sounds like something that may have been done down where the water is still.
Yes.
Okay. And so things like that. I don't really know the origin of the name. But at that time, it was in a territory called Indian Territory. Okay. And she taught near that, if you can call it a town. Of course, there wasn't much of anything there. Mm-hmm. But I have a photograph of her with her students. Almost all of them were what we call Indian children. And my mother, her bloodline, as they called it, was what you might call part Indian.
Okay.
Of what tribe? Creek. All right. And sometimes they kind of, people, from what I had heard, were kind of blended in with the Cherokees. Because a lot of the different tribal people, so-called intermarried. They married outside the tribe.
Right.
So, and that's how that came about.
Right.
But that's about, in answer to the question, that's about as much as I know about that.
Okay.
There's an incident that my mother did tell me about, that she had gone by wagon to a place where they had a railway station way out in the middle of nowhere, except just the railroad track. And so the wagon kept going, and she was going to go to what they call Stillwater Indian Territory, and that's where the tracks on the train were going, somewhere near there. And so she got out of the wagon, and then the people kept going, and they weren't around, and so she sat in the station until it opened, until the people started selling tickets. She went up to the ticket counter and tried to get a ticket, and the white man behind the counter, told her she wasn't going to get a ticket. For some reason, he just wasn't going to sell her a ticket. And just flat out told her, I'm not going to sell you a ticket. I mean, he took one look at her, and that was it. And so she was sitting there in the station crying, way out in the middle of nowhere, nobody but her and that white man behind the counter. And so an Indian came in. This is the way she described it to me. She didn't know what tribe, anything like that, but he was wearing braids and had a big cowboy hat on, and he carried a Colt 45 pistol, revolver. And so he took a seat, and she was there crying silently. And so he came over and asked her, why is she crying? And she told him, I don't know what to do. There's no train here. There's no way for me to get anywhere. I'm just stranded here, and I can't get a ticket. That Indian took her. Now, this is the way my mother told it. That Indian went over, banged on the desk. The guy let the shade up, because he pulled the shade down on my mother. And he pulled the shade up, and the Indian took out that Colt 45 revolver, Western style, and put it on right in that white man's face, and said in broken English, just like in a movie, the way my mother told it, give her a ticket, because he didn't speak English, all right, just broken English. And he told her this, told that guy, my mother was terrified. Because there's nobody around here. And in Indian territory back then, you're talking about the 1800s. I mean, he'd just been a dead white man. All right. He sold us tickets. He got his hands were fumbling and whatnot. He got that ticket. And then he pulled the shade down after that. Of course, he didn't want to see him get shot. That was going to be the next thing he's going to get. Okay.
I guess she got constructive results.
That's the way my mother told it, and that's the way, my mother didn't, as far as I know, she didn't tell no lies. All right. And that's in answer to the question. I went a long way around saying it, but that's a part of my history. All right, while we're talking about history.
Okay.
But the train came and she got on it. Okay.
How about that? Well, I guess you could say she got constructive results. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. This is from Ray. He says this. Please ask Mr. Fuller if he had relatives in either Coyle, Guthrie, and or Langston, Oklahoma. My relatives hail from that location and have been there since before the time Mr. Fuller speaks of his mother. So, Mr. Fuller, have you ever had any relatives in Coyle, Guthrie, or in Langston, Oklahoma?
Well, I had a spouse that went to Langston. That's where she graduated from.
Mm-hmm.
And later on, I met her here in Washington.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm. But she went to Langston, graduated from it. I have pictures and all that from back then, 1940s. So, I'm quite familiar with Langston University.
Is that named after Langston Hughes? Is that named after Langston Hughes?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, yes. Dunbar, Langston. I mean, I went to a school named after Paul Laurence Dunbar. High school.
Yes, sir.
Muskogee, Oklahoma. Dunbar High School.
Mm-hmm. So those towns are relatively...
Dunbar Elementary School. And I went to... The high school was named Manual Training. And I don't think it was named after a person.
Mm-hmm.
But it was manual training because that's the kind... They came up under the mindset of Booker T. Washington, who says, learn how to use your hands along with any intellectual learning. But learn how to build things, how to do things. He got into a whole... Booker T. Washington, I understand, was kind of ostracized by a lot of black people.
Yeah. Yes, he was.
Mm-hmm. And they went back and forth. It was one of those things that the code is supposed to help us forbid. We get in arguments about how to go about handling racism.
Okay.
Booker T. Washington wanted to handle racism by black people learning how to do things. See, people will always kind of give you regard if you know how to get something done.
Okay.
See, but just standing around learning how to talk, all right, he said that won't pay off as well as learning how to do things. How to get things done that people need doing.
Yes, sir.
How to build things with your hands.
Mm-hmm. All right, this might be the last question here. This comes from Gary. Says this, Mr. Fuller, why do white people not like statements from non-whites?
Oh, because it shows that you know something. Or you think you know something. And well, I don't think I ever said that. Wait a minute.
No, he didn't say you said it.
Oh. Well, that would be the logical answer, I believe. Because I don't think that they really object to black people making statements.
Okay.
For one thing, I think they object to black people asking questions.
Okay. Okay. If why don't they like us to ask questions?
That's the question?
Yeah, I'm asking that since you made that statement.
Oh, because you're trying to seek knowledge. They don't want a black person learning anything that they don't already know. They want a black person to never ask a question. Because when you ask questions, you learn things. All right? And black people have picked up on that too, because black people, like to give the impression that they know everything. We should be just the opposite. I don't know nothing. Tell me everything. That's how you learn. You learn by letting the world know you don't know.
Well,
and
you know
what? A lot of people, including white people, like to let you know what they know. Because everybody likes to be thought of as being what? Smart.
Well, that probably wouldn't hold true for Stephen Fetcher, because he tricked them. He made them think that he was dumb and stupid. He was a millionaire. He was
Yeah,
he
by
was
acting stupid.
Yeah, by acting stupid, yeah. And they thought that he was. He was smart. He was very smart. Kind of like the story when you told about jalopy, which I still like. Jalopy.
Or like another actress, Hattie McDaniel.
Oh, yeah, Hattie, yeah.
Now, Hattie McDaniel says what? She said, oh, yeah, people ridicule me.
For being a maid. For playing a maid.
Yeah, for taking a job in the motion pictures, acting like a maid.
And what did she say?
She said, that kept me from being one.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The quote
or words to that effect.
Yeah,
right.
the quote.
Yeah.
The quote I heard was, she said, "I'd rather play a maid than be a
one."
maid."
Yeah, because she got paid a whole lot more.
She got paid, yeah.
A whole lot more than what a whole lot of white maids was making.
Oh, have mercy. Oh, have mercy. All righty. Well, Mr. Fuller, we have come to the end of this 2-hour session. Thank you so much, Mr. Fuller. Thank you, callers. Thank everybody for listening, technicians, all the callers, the Gmailers, and all that. So, Mr. Fuller, in our remaining minute and 16 seconds, I'm going to give the floor to you.
Yes. Keep learning. I mean, be insatiable about learning how to produce what? Constructive results. Keep those two words in mind. And excuse me for doing all this rambling today. I think I did more of it than I've ever done today. But I hope they might have gotten something out of my feeble efforts to make sense out of something. And telling a little personal stories and all this.
People like that, Mr. Fuller. They do.
Well,
they want to hear those stories. They really do.
Well, if I get some constructive results out of that, well, so be it. But for those who didn't get anything out of it that they could use, I apologize for that.
Well, that's like the book. That's like your book.
Okay, all right.
There's just some things in there that people don't understand. It may not be for them. You even said that
all right.
before.
So just turn the page.
Yeah.
And when they get to the last page, if you haven't gotten anything out of it, pick up another book written by somebody else. That's all.
There you go.
That's how you solve problems.
That's how you solve it. Okay. Well, I want to thank you again, Mr. Fuller, and I want to thank all the people that hung on for the second hour. Well, we got more people in this second hour on the line listening. You know what? We really do thank you for doing that. Thank you for calling in. But guess what? The clock on the wall says that's all, y'all. So Mr. Fuller and myself are going to have to go. But we hope to do better next week. So please, if in your heart, if you can forgive us for any mistakes that we've made, we'll be kindly in trying to do better. So, Mr. Fuller, the last word goes to you.
ProduceJustice.com. That's where you can get the book.
All right.
And
everybody.
And like I said, everything that you do today, every day, try to get a constructive result.
Okay. All right. Everybody have a good week. All right. Bye.
Okay, round two. Name something that's not boring.
A laundry? Ooh, a book club. Computer solitaire, huh?
Ah, sorry, we were looking for Chumba Casino. That's right, ChumbaCasino.com has over 100 casino-style games. Join today and play for free for your chance to redeem some serious prizes. ChumbaCasino.com.
No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18+ terms and conditions apply. See website for details.